we're going to cover ways to use Sparky via voice commands and text commands. And so one thing that I want to kind of bring you to is that when you go to Fieldnotes /start, there's this handout that I wanted to kind of bring you into. It's a PDF file. And basically in there, these are all the basic stuff, information here, okay? But here's like tips on using Sparky on here as well too. So let's think about this. Sparky has a phone number and an email address, right? And whatever you share with Sparky, all you need to know is you cannot go wrong with it. All you have to do is just always add the first and last name of the contact that you're referring to. Okay, so for example, if you know, so you're using your phone, the voice dictation, right? Like whether it be Siri or on Android, you're using Google to kind of convert that from voice to text. That's not us. That's your phone. But what happens is that when you send the text message or the email, that's the text that gets processed by the AI. So all you have to do is say, for Bob Smith, you know, we just talked about him relocating to, you know, Tracy, and his budget is $1.2 million. Remind me to follow up with him with listings next week. So in that short message, within like 5 seconds to dictate, you've accomplished 3 tasks, right? First, a Bob Smith, and is Bob Smith a, what happens in the system is it'll check if Bob Smith is a new contact or an existing contact. If it's a new contact, it'll create one. It will start categorizing the data that you have provided. So when I said, hey, Bob Smith is relocating to Tracy, well, relocating to Tracy assumes that it's a buyer because you're relocating to the area, right? And it will also create a, his budget is, you know, $1.2 million. Well, that's his budget. So it'll create a buyer's, you know, a transaction in there with buyer potential for $1.2 million. So it shows up on your dashboard. The fourth thing I forgot is that I said, hey, remind me to send listings to him by Thursday. So that's your fourth thing. Like literally, if you're in the car, you share something like that, 5 seconds, or in between calls, you make notes like that, you will have accomplished 3 or 4 steps in one quick text message. It should be pretty simple if you know, to get into the habit, to be able to then kind of start dictating. And if there's, you know, and the reason why I say you can't go wrong with it, and besides adding first and last name of the contact, anything else goes, is because Sparky's, the AI platform will always look for ways to kind of categorize your data or ways to take action, looking for follow-ups or to-dos as well too, right? So like, hey, you know, their budget, or it's a hot lead, it's, you know, just met him at an open house. So it'll categorize it into the data, into the database for you. Let's talk a little bit about that part, about follow-ups too. Like, you know, if you say to Sparky in the same text, hey, Sparky, just met with Bob Smith, you know, remind me I need to follow up on, you know, my appointment with him is, you know, whatever of those like kind of like action words, right, as you're speaking naturally to it, is to be able to kind of like, it will create a to-do for you or an appointment. There's 3 types of follow-ups, right? There's an appointment, there's an all-day event, or just an open task, right? On there, you'll see like, remind me to meet with Ann tomorrow at 4 p.m. So what will happen is then Sparky will put it on your calendar and put it into the system, 4 p.m. tomorrow. So, and then if you say, remind me to follow up, or remind me to send the listings to Bob Smith tomorrow, it will automatically put it on the calendar as an all-day event, not to block any of your appointments, but just put it at the very top of the calendar as an all-day. Okay. The third one is, hey, remind me to call Bob no date, then it creates an open task. So those are the 3 types of follow-ups that you can be telling Sparky on. The one thing that I want to encourage you guys to think of Sparky. There's, a lot of new users, when they're using Sparky, they tend to kind of be very short and almost dictating to themselves, like notes, right? And I would encourage you to think the opposite. I would encourage you to think of Sparky as your assistant. And if you're talking to a person, what happens is that you are more descriptive. You complete more sentences. Like you could say to Sparky, "Hey Sparky, please add Bob Smith, phone number 555-1212. Remind me to call tomorrow at 4 p.m. and so forth." Right? You could do that. But however, if you're more descriptive and more as if you're talking to a human, you can say, "Hey, I just met with Bob Smith and his wife Lauren. They're relocating to Tracy. They want to spend $1.2 million with, and they have 3 lovely kids, Paul, Dick, and Harry, or whatever, right?" And then it allows you to be able to capture all that information without you having to be a staccato way of talking. What our technology is natural language processing, or you might hear of it as conversational AI. So it's extracting all your information and inferring additional information. Things like the relocation one, relocating to Tracy. That's a great example. You didn't say, "Hey, he's a buyer," right? You just basically said he's relocating and knows how to infer from it. With the emails and text messages, you can send an image, you can send like like a picture, like a business card, and you can text it. You can also send PDF documents. You can send PDF documents for the contracts, right? And you can send like Excel files or CSV files, the comma separated values, to upload your data. So you guys have gone through that. So those are ways to get information into Fieldnotes through Sparky. As I was mentioning, I've showed you guys how to, today we've talked about how to get information out. I'll leave you with this too, for the last tidbit on this. What you can do also with Sparky is you can trigger action plans. So let's say you've triggered an action plan, like a buyer post-closing action plan, right? And there's one in the library that you can download into your folder as well too. With the action plans, once you set it up, and I'll give you the perfect example that you can use the action plan. So let's say you're finish up a closing that you've just helped a buyer close on, and usually we, a lot of agents tell me, and including my mom who used to be an agent, she'll say, "Oh, I forgot to check up on them. I forgot to get a review, or I forget to check in with them like a couple months after, and now I feel embarrassed. I don't want to follow up anymore," right? So there's an action plan there that automates the whole process, and you can just say, and when you're finished with a closing, you just say, "Hey Sparky, trigger the buyer post closing action plan for Bob Smith," and the sequence will automatically kick off for you. And if you use the one that's in our library and you download it to your folder, what it will do is the first email will come out and say, "Hey, I'm so excited working with you and helping you find this home," and so forth. And then it will also ask for a review, which a lot of agents often forget to do. And then 1 week later, it will send an email on through your email system, and it'll say, "Hey Bob, just want to check in how the move has been going. How are things selling? Let me know if there's anything I can help you with." It'll do that 30, 90 days, 180 days, 1 year out. Happy house anniversary, right? Mm-hmm. Well, all you did was remember to trigger it one time at the day of closing. Everything else, like 5 or 6 follow-up messages, will flow from there.